NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg is urging allies to give more military support to Ukraine. While presenting NATO's annual report this morning, he said, quote, Ukrainians are not running out of courage, they are running out of ammunition. He also said public support for the alliance is extremely high and discussed expectation for members' defense spending for this year.
In 2024, NATO allies in Europe will invest a total of $470 billion in defense, amounting to 2% of their combined GDP for the first time. This year, two-thirds of allies will meet the 2% target, up from just 3 allies in 2014 when we agreed the defense investment pledge.
For more on this, I want to bring in Julianne Smith. She's the U.S. ambassador to NATO. Madam Ambassador, it's good to have you on the show again.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
So what does this 2% for defense spending mean for U.S. national security and for the NATO alliance as a whole? How does NATO's defense funding work? Because a lot of Americans will hear loose language used in regards to what the United States and other member nations of NATO contribute. You'll hear people saying pay your dues or pay your bills, just for our audience to understand how this all works.
Sure, absolutely. So NATO, it's not a country club. No one's delinquent. No one owes any dues. What we decided 10 years ago is that every member of this alliance should spend 2% of their own GDP on their own defense. And by investing in their own defense, it ultimately makes the alliance stronger because we have better forces, better capabilities, and the ability to support one another for any threat that we might face. So as the Secretary General just said, we started with just 3 allies in the alliance spending 2%. And this year, we're going to be somewhere between 18 and 20 allies spending 2%. So that's a huge leap. I credit 3 U.S. presidents, President Obama, President Trump, President Biden. They've all pushed on this. And now we have 2/3 of the alliance spending what they need. We still have work to do. We're going to get those other allies across the line in the next couple of years. Everybody has a plan in place. But ultimately, the bottom line is a stronger NATO means that it can help protect America's interests and it can help protect the interests of our allies. So an alliance that is spending more is ultimately good for the United States and good for our allies.
In fact, there are several countries that spend more than 2%, some, a handful, more than 3%. Poland is one of them. Poland's president called on NATO members to raise their spending on defense to 3% of their GDP. I mean, is that feasible? Because we're still not all at 2%.
Right, but I really want to say how much we support what Poland is doing. Poland is a leader in this alliance. It is committed to spending 3% and wants to stretch up to 4%. But they're not alone. We have a number of countries, some of the Nordic countries, some of the Baltic countries, Romania, and others have said, look, 2% probably isn't going to be enough for the commitments we have, everything that this alliance is trying to do, and the fact that we've got to replenish our stocks from the support that we provided to Ukraine means that we're probably going to have to stretch beyond 2%. So what the alliance did last year is we actually agreed that 2% is a floor, but not a ceiling. And in NATO language, that means that first and foremost, you have to get to the 2%, and then you've got to stretch beyond it. So we're already on our way, and I'm confident that given everything that this alliance is trying to do for all of our shared security, that allies are going to keep investing in defense to make collectively all of us stronger.
Madam Ambassador, you're no doubt aware that Russian President Vladimir Putin said yesterday that Moscow is ready for nuclear war if it comes to it. He also announced the deployment of additional troops and weapon systems to the country's border with Finland, who became a NATO member last year. Without revealing confidential discussions you've had with other leaders, the other representatives on the council, are there talks about what would happen should Donald Trump be elected president again of the United States? He's been very vocal about his lack of support for the alliance, which is in line with what Vladimir Putin wants. Are there contingency plans in place should something like that happen?
Well, I would say a couple of things on that. First and foremost, look, President Putin in Russia has shown us various forms of nuclear saber rattling since this war started. This is a common play on the part of the Russians, and it's one that we're all deeply familiar with. We take these threats seriously. We take the nuclear saber rattling very seriously. We monitor the situation on the ground. I will say at this point, we don't see an indication that Russians are preparing to use nuclear weapons. Therefore, the U.S. is not making any changes to its posture at this juncture. But we take it seriously, and this is something that we discuss very closely with our allies here at NATO headquarters. In terms of some of the rhetoric we've heard out in the campaign trail in the United States, what I will say is encouraging the Kremlin to attack NATO allies is absolutely irresponsible and irrational, but it's also dangerous. It puts the lives of U.S. troops at risk, and it puts the lives of allied soldiers at risk. So what we're focused on here is ensuring that we can focus on the upcoming summit in Washington, D.C. in July. We are here with the Biden administration working to make this alliance stronger and bigger and better for future challenges and for everything that's happening in Ukraine right now.
Ambassador Julianne Smith, thank you so much.
Thank you.